The galaxy was quiet. Too quiet. After decades of war, billions of ships had been destroyed, planets burned, and empires shattered. The great battles of the galactic war were over, or so everyone thought. Star systems were rebuilding, fleets repaired, and peace treaties signed. Across the stars, the signs of human life had vanished. Entire human colonies had been lost or forgotten. Histories recorded them as extinct. Myths whispered of their courage, but no one truly remembered. Humans were gone, and yet one human remained. Deep in the uncharted reaches of space, a lone ship drifted silently. Its hull was scarred with age and battle, its lights dim, almost lifeless. Inside, a stasis chamber held a figure encased in frost and glass. Commander Elias Kane. He had been frozen for decades, the last defender of a human fleet that had fought to the very end. His body had aged little. His mind paused at the moment the war ended. The galaxy had moved on, but Kane had not. A soft, persistent alarm echoed through the ship, breaking the silence. Red lights flickered across the walls of the control room. The ship's systems were waking as if guided by some unseen hand. Kane's eyes opened slowly, adjusting to the dim glow. He sat up, coughing, his lungs filling with recycled air. He remembered the final battle, the destruction of the human homeworld, the charge into the enemy fleet, the sudden blackout as his ship was hit. Then nothing, darkness, silence, and now he was awake. His fingers brushed the control panel and it hummed beneath his touch. Data streamed across the screen. Most of it was damaged or incomplete, but something unusual appeared. A signal. Weak, irregular, almost random. But it was there. Someone or something was reaching out. Kane frowned. "Who's there?" he muttered. His voice sounded strange, unfamiliar in the emptiness. He stood and moved to the observation deck. Outside, stars stretched across the void like silver threads. No planets, no ships, no signs of life. Just the cold, infinite black. Yet the signal pulsed again, insistent. Kane traced it to its origin using the ship's damaged sensors. It was coming from a nearby sector, one that had not appeared on any charts he had seen. He remembered that part of space. Hidden, abandoned, forgotten. Perfect for a ghost ship like his. His first thought was caution. Humans were extinct, but the galaxy was full of alien empires that were wary of each other. Any ship moving through space alone could be seen as a threat. Kane activated the ship's shields and ran diagnostics on the engines. Surprisingly, the old system still worked, though barely. It was enough. He would investigate, but carefully. As he prepared to leave the ship's docking bay, he noticed something else. The stasis chamber had recorded a message. It was addressed to him. A recording from Admiral Lorraine, his commander during the last war. Her face appeared etched with worry. "Elias," she said, her voice trembling, "if you see this, the war is over. The humans? We did not survive. Colonies lost. Homeworld gone. You are our last hope. The galaxy will remember us as extinct. But maybe it doesn't have to end that way. Use your ship wisely. Trust your instincts. And never forget, humanity fights even when it is gone." Kane's hands clenched. He had heard enough legends about human resilience, enough stories from dying allies. Now he was living proof. Alone. Against a galaxy that had forgotten his kind. He activated the ship and plotted a course toward the source of the signal. Every star he passed reminded him of how empty the galaxy had become. Trade routes were nearly deserted. Stations had rusted into silence. Aliens moved cautiously, rebuilding empires but without fear of humans. Without fear of him, the first contact came sooner than he expected. A small fleet appeared on the sensors, alien ships arranged in a patrol formation. Kane studied the readings. The ships were from the Zarvok Empire, one of humanity's most ruthless enemies during the war. Their designs were aggressive, sharp, angular, intimidating, but they had not encountered humans in decades. Kane smiled faintly. Humans were thought extinct. He could use that advantage. He engaged the ship's stealth systems, old experimental technology designed for evasion rather than combat. The ships passed by unaware of his presence. Still, Kane knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy might be quiet, but it was fragile. Old rivalries could ignite at the slightest spark. And he was a spark. A human spark. Days passed as Kane explored abandoned systems, finding traces of past battles and abandoned stations. He repaired minor systems, scavenged old technology and pieced together the galaxy's new state. He discovered that the alien empires had divided the former human colonies among themselves. The Zarvok Empire, the Arathians, and the Velkor Dominion all claimed parts of space once ruled by humans. Kane's thoughts drifted to strategy. Humans had always survived by thinking ahead, by being unpredictable. He would need to be careful. No unnecessary attacks, no reckless moves. He had one advantage: the galaxy thought humans were extinct. He could observe, learn, and wait for the right moment. One night, as Kane studied star maps, he discovered a hidden planet in a distant system. It was marked only in the oldest charts, one of humanity's secret outposts. Kane's heart raced. If the outpost was intact, it might contain resources, technology, even records of lost colonies. He plotted a course immediately. When he arrived, the planet was quiet but alive. Cracked cities and abandoned research facilities spread across its surface. Automated defense drones patrolled silently, programmed to recognize only humans. Kane approached cautiously. The drones paused, scanning him, then retreated. The system still recognized him, human. His presence alone reactivated the long-dormant defenses. Inside the main facility, Kane found what he had hoped for: archives, laboratories, and a small fleet of unmanned ships. Each was equipped with technology centuries ahead of anything in the current galaxy. There were messages from humans long gone explaining the systems, the hidden fleets, and the warnings about a fragile peace. Kane realized something important. Humans had prepared for this moment. Even in extinction, they had left tools for survival and influence. Now Kane had to decide how to use them. Could he remain hidden? Could he influence the galaxy from the shadows? Or would he reveal himself and force the galaxy to remember that humans were still here? As he explored the facility, a new signal appeared on his sensors. Not alien, not human, something different. Kane frowned. The signal was faint, almost like a heartbeat in space. It pulsed rhythmically, leading him to a deeper part of the planet. There, in a hidden chamber, Kane found a strange device, ancient, alien, and clearly powerful. It radiated energy unlike anything he had seen. His instincts told him it was important, perhaps dangerous, perhaps both. He studied it carefully. The device seemed to respond to his presence, lights blinking in recognition. Kane understood that it might be a key to the galaxy's future, key to humanity's return. Suddenly, the sensors on his ship detected movement. Alien ships approaching fast. Not the small patrols he had evaded before. This was a fleet, larger than any single power he had observed. They had detected his activation of the planet's systems. Kane's heart raced, but his mind was clear. Humans had survived worse. They had fought against impossible odds. And he, Commander Elias Kane, was ready. He activated the facility's defenses, bringing drones and automated turrets online. The ship slowed, scanning the planet. Kane observed, calculating. He did not panic. Humans had always relied on thinking, on ingenuity, on courage when outnumbered. He would do the same. Hours passed. The alien fleet eventually retreated, confused and cautious. Kane had not fired a shot, yet he had survived. His mind raced with possibilities. The galaxy believed humans were gone. They would soon learn the truth, whether they were ready or not. As night fell over the hidden planet, Kane looked up at the stars. The galaxy was quiet, but it was alive. Empires rebuilt, alliances formed, rivalries simmered. And now one human had returned. Alone, yes, but not powerless. A human could think, adapt, and endure. One human could change everything. For the first time in decades, Kane smiled. Humanity was not gone, not yet. And the galaxy would remember that humans could fight, survive, and rise, even from the ashes. He returned to his ship, plotting courses, preparing systems, and thinking about the future. One day, the galaxy would see the true power of humanity. One day, humans would no longer be a memory, and Elias Kane, the last human of the Galactic War, would be the spark that lit that return. The war was over. The galaxy thought it was safe. But one human had woken, and that was just the beginning. The galaxy was still quiet, but that quiet was fragile. Commander Elias Kane knew it better than anyone. From the hidden planet, he watched the stars, scanning for movement. Alien empires had returned to their routines, repairing fleets and claiming territory. But one thing remained constant. No one expected humans. Kane understood that advantage. Humans were thought extinct. Every empire believed their stories. An entire species erased. That belief gave him freedom. He could move, explore, and prepare without immediate attack. But he also knew curiosity was dangerous. A lone ship appearing in forgotten space could attract attention, and attention meant danger. His sensors detected small ships first. A scout from the Velcor Dominion, a former adversary of humanity. Kane studied the readings carefully. The Velcorians were advanced, efficient, and methodical. They patrolled in groups, scanning for anomalies, and their ships bristled with weapons. Yet they had no idea a human ship was in this sector. Kane activated the stealth systems. His ship had old experimental cloaking technology, imperfect but enough to mask him. The Velcorian scouts passed by unaware. Kane allowed himself a small smile. Human ingenuity had survived. Humans could think differently, adapt faster, and exploit the unexpected. That was why humanity had endured the war. That was why he survived now. For days, Kane navigated the uncharted space, carefully observing alien activity. He saw fleets moving between systems, reconstructed colonies bustling with alien life, and remnants of old battles left to drift in silence. Each observation gave him knowledge, but also a reminder. The galaxy had changed. Humans were no longer part of it, or so the aliens believed. Then came the real challenge. Sensors picked up a larger fleet, moving fast and precise. It belonged to the Zarvok Empire, known for their ruthless strategy during the Galactic War. Kane analyzed the fleet's formation. Dozens of ships, warships lined in attack formation, scanning sectors systematically. The fleet would detect his ship soon if he stayed in their path. Kane knew he had to act, and quickly. He activated the ship's maneuvering thrusters, moving to a nearby asteroid belt. The ancient cloaking systems would only work for so long. Evasion was his best option. As the fleet entered the sector, Kane executed a series of unpredictable maneuvers. He darted behind asteroids, launched counter-signals to confuse sensors, and created false energy signatures. The Zarvok fleet hesitated, scanning, but could not find him. Kane watched as their formations wavered, then slowly retreated. He exhaled. Victory without a fight. That was the human way. Survival through strategy, not brute force. Yet Kane knew this was only the beginning. The Zarvoks would be curious. Other empires might notice anomalies in the sensor logs. Humans might have been thought extinct, but if one existed now, it could spark fear, or worse, war. Kane spent the next week repairing his ship and enhancing its systems. He scavenged parts from abandoned stations and old satellites, combining alien technology with human design. The ship became faster, smarter, more efficient. Kane smiled as he tested each system. Humans had always excelled in innovation, and he was proving it again. One day, a new signal appeared on his sensors. It was faint, irregular, almost like a heartbeat in space. Kane traced it carefully. The source was not a known alien frequency, not human, something else. He adjusted his ship's sensors, boosting range, filtering interference, and followed the signal to a small, uncharted planet. The planet was strange. Its surface glowed faintly, as if alive. Kane's scanners detected artificial structures beneath the crust, ancient and alien. He realized this planet had been hidden for centuries, untouched by war and empire. Curiosity pushed him forward. He landed cautiously, shields up, scanners active. On the surface, Kane found ruins, structures with unfamiliar shapes and unknown technology. Lights flickered faintly, and strange energy readings pulsed across the ground. He moved carefully, aware that anything could be a trap. His instincts told him this was important, perhaps a key to something much larger. Inside one of the structures, Kane discovered a device unlike anything he had seen. It radiated energy, pulsing in patterns that seemed deliberate, intelligent. Kane studied it closely. It responded to his presence, lights blinking in recognition. He realized it was some form of communication or control system. Perhaps it had been waiting for someone, waiting for him. As Kane investigated, his ship's sensors went off again. A new fleet had arrived, Zarvok, larger and more determined. They had tracked his movement and discovered the hidden planet. Kane knew he could not hide forever. The fleet was prepared to attack if he tried to leave. But Kane did not panic. Humans had always survived impossible odds. Strategy, improvisation, and courage were stronger than numbers alone. He activated the planet's automated defense systems, long dormant, but designed to protect the site. Drones and turrets powered up, energy beams slicing through the void. The Zarvok ship slowed, scanning, confused. Kane observed from the planet, calculating every movement. The fleet could destroy the defenses if they attacked directly, but Kane did not plan a direct confrontation. He used misdirection. Energy signals were broadcasted, making it appear the defenses were more extensive than they were. The fleet hesitated, unsure of the threat. Hours passed. The Zarvoks eventually withdrew, cautious and uncertain. Kane had survived without firing a shot himself. His ingenuity, combined with human technology and unpredictability, had turned the situation in his favor. The galaxy would soon learn that humans were not as weak or extinct as they thought. Kane explored the hidden planet further. He found archives and records, some human, some alien, all carefully preserved. Among them were old battle plans, secret human technologies, and maps to hidden systems. Humans had prepared for moments like this, leaving behind tools to survive and influence the galaxy even if the species seemed lost. As he absorbed the information, Kane realized something else. Humans had left a legacy, a shadow fleet scattered across uncharted space. Some ships were hidden in nebulae, others in moons or asteroid fields. If activated, these fleets could change the balance of power across the galaxy. Kane felt a surge of responsibility. He was not just a survivor. He was a guardian of humanity's future. The faint signal still pulsed, drawing Kane deeper into the planet's structures. Following it, he discovered a chamber filled with advanced alien technology, still functioning despite centuries of neglect. The device seemed alive, humming softly, responding to his presence. Kane's mind raced with possibilities. It could be a weapon, a communication tool, or a control hub for systems across the galaxy. Whatever it was, it had chosen him, or perhaps humans in general, as the next user. Kane activated his ship's long-range scanners to monitor alien movements. He learned quickly that the galaxy had not forgotten conflict entirely. The empires were rebuilding, forming new alliances, and old rivalries still simmered. Kane understood that timing was everything. Acting too soon could trigger a war. Acting too late could mean losing the advantage entirely. For the first time in decades, Kane allowed himself to think like a strategist rather than a survivor. He planned, analyzed, and prepared. Humans had always been good at adapting, at turning disadvantage into opportunity. Kane would do the same. Then came the real test. A message appeared in the planet's alien system, unencrypted but ancient. The language was unfamiliar, but Kane recognized patterns. Symbols, logic sequences, and energy pulses combined to form coherent instructions. The device was sending a message, perhaps to anyone capable of understanding. Kane decoded it with effort. It spoke of a hidden fleet waiting for activation. It spoke of a galaxy on the brink, where a single spark could ignite chaos or restore balance. Most importantly, it spoke of humans not extinct, not forgotten, but lost to history. The message implied that a human, the last of their kind, could awaken this legacy. Kane's heart pounded. He was that human. As he considered the implications, Kane's sensors detected another fleet approaching. This time it was the Arathian Empire, a former ally of some human colonies, but now a cautious power. They were curious, scanning for anomalies, unaware that a human had awakened an ancient legacy. Kane prepared defenses, but also calculated a path for diplomacy. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but humans could negotiate, deceive, and strategize like no other species. He would use every skill he had. Hours later, the Arathian ships arrived in orbit. Kane projected energy signatures to make it appear that the planet was heavily defended. The Arathians hesitated, sending probes, scanning carefully. Kane engaged the planet's defenses remotely, allowing drones to move and energy signals to mislead the alien sensors. The Arathians withdrew, unsure of the strength they faced. Kane smiled. Human ingenuity had prevailed again. The galaxy believed humans extinct. That belief gave him power, but also responsibility. He could influence the galaxy without direct conflict, guiding events from the shadows. He could rebuild humanity's presence carefully, one step at a time. That night, Kane returned to his ship. He stared at the stars, thinking of the countless systems waiting to be explored, the fleets waiting to be found, and the civilizations that would soon realize humans had not vanished. One human alone could change the galaxy. Humans were clever, adaptable, and resilient. They had survived worse, and now Elias Kane carried that legacy. The hidden planet was silent once more, but silence no longer meant peace. Commander Elias Kane had uncovered more than abandoned structures and strange alien devices. He had discovered humanity's shadow, a hidden network of technology and fleets that could still shape the galaxy. And now, it was his responsibility to awaken it. Kane moved carefully through the ruins of the central facility. The alien device pulsed softly, responding to his presence. His fingers traced the glowing lines of its surface. Symbols shifted as if alive, ancient knowledge encoded in patterns humans had never seen. The device was more than a relic. It was a key, and Kane understood that the galaxy's balance might rest in his hands. He connected his ship to the device, allowing his onboard systems to interface. Lights flickered across the chamber as dormant systems powered up. Long dormant drones moved, testing sensors, scanning for threats. Automated turrets aligned, awaiting his commands. Kane realized the full scale of the human legacy. Fleets hidden in distant nebulae, defense systems buried in abandoned worlds, and archives containing knowledge from centuries past. Humans never truly vanish, he muttered. We leave pieces of ourselves behind. Kane spent days exploring the facility, cataloging and activating systems. Each discovery brought new possibilities. He found starships preserved in underground hangars designed for speed, stealth, and firepower far beyond what current empires possessed. Weapon systems, shield generators, and experimental engines were all operational, awaiting activation. Kane smiled. Humanity had prepared for a return, even if the species itself had seemed lost. But awakening the legacy was not without risk. His sensors detected fleets moving near the hidden planet. Alien empires were still curious, and the Zarvoks had not forgotten him. Any mistake could lead to detection and war. Kane needed to be clever. Humans had always excelled in unpredictability. He would use every advantage: deception, strategy, and surprise. The first fleet he activated was a small squadron of unmanned ships hidden in a nearby asteroid field. Kane remotely powered them up, tested navigation systems, and launched them on patrols disguised as natural phenomena. The ships moved like shadows among the rocks, invisible to sensors scanning from afar. Kane watched with satisfaction. Even small fleets could disrupt enemy movements if used wisely. Next, he turned to communication systems. Ancient human relays hidden in remote sectors were now online. Kane sent encoded messages not to announce his presence but to test signals across the galaxy. He learned quickly which sectors were monitored, which empires were active, and which systems remained unaware of any human activity. Information flowed like water through a network, and Kane absorbed it all. Knowledge was power, and humans had always used knowledge well. As he worked, a faint, persistent signal returned. It was different this time, clearer, structured, almost intelligent. Kane traced it to a distant system, marked on no current maps. He calculated the distance and plotted a course. Whatever awaited him there could hold answers or danger. The journey took weeks. Kane moved cautiously, stopping at hidden points to repair systems and recharge. He avoided major trade routes and patrol lanes, relying on stealth and patience. The galaxy remained fragile. Humans were a ghost story now, and Kane intended to keep it that way until the time was right. When he arrived, the system revealed its secrets. Ancient starships floated in orbit around a hidden planet, preserved perfectly despite centuries of neglect. Kane's sensors recognized the ships as human designs, experimental models, faster and more heavily armed than anything in current service. These ships had been waiting, ready for the right commander to awaken them. Kane felt the weight of responsibility. This was more than survival. This was the chance to restore humanity, to influence the galaxy once more. He began activating the ships one by one, using codes stored in the planet's archives. Drones assisted moving supplies and conducting repairs. The fleet came alive like a sleeping giant stirring from slumber. Yet Kane knew that awakening the fleet could attract attention. Alien empires had sensors everywhere, and sudden movement in forgotten sectors would not go unnoticed. He calculated the risks. Humans were clever, yes, but they had always balanced boldness with caution. Kane decided to stagger the activations, masking energy signatures and using stealth technology to hide the fleet's presence. As he worked, reports came in from distant probes. Aliens were noticing anomalies, strange energy bursts, disappearing signals, unusual patterns in sectors long thought abandoned. Kane smiled. Humans were being remembered not as a species but as a ghost story that was starting to wake. Then came the real challenge, testing the fleet. Kane took a single ship, one of the fastest and most advanced, and launched it on a reconnaissance mission. It moved silently through space, evading detection, passing through enemy patrols and surveillance grids. Reports returned to Kane in real time, showing the ship's success. The fleet could operate covertly, strike when needed, and vanish without trace. Humans had left tools for survival, but they had also left tools for dominance. Kane considered the implications. He could use the fleet to prevent conflict, to influence diplomacy, or to defend against any threats before they became real. He could strike fear into the hearts of empires that thought humans extinct. Yet he also remembered Admiral Lorraine's words, "Humans must act wisely." Strength without wisdom was dangerous. Kane resolved to balance power with prudence, using the fleet to guide the galaxy toward stability. Days later, Kane's long-range sensors detected a new anomaly. An alien vessel, much larger than the scouting fleets he had encountered, had entered a nearby system. Its design was unfamiliar but powerful. Kane calculated its trajectory. It was moving deliberately, scanning for hidden energy sources. He realized immediately that this ship could detect his activated fleets if he was not careful. Kane prepared. He used decoys and false signals, making it appear that the system was empty. The alien ship scanned the area, its sensors probing, but Kane's human ingenuity kept the fleet hidden. Yet he knew this could not last forever. The more fleets he awakened, the higher the risk of detection. In the hidden planet's command center, Kane activated another set of systems, automated factories, designed to build ships and repair them over time. He began producing new drones and vessels, ensuring that humanity's presence could grow steadily. Even alone, Kane was creating a foundation for a human return. One night, as Kane studied the stars, a thought struck him. The galaxy had changed. Aliens had rebuilt, alliances had shifted, and old enemies were cautious. But humans had been forgotten. That forgetfulness was a strength. No empire had prepared for humans' return. Kane could shape events before anyone realized the truth. The device in the ruins pulsed again, more urgently. Kane traced it to a deeper chamber, one that had remained sealed. There he discovered a holographic map of the galaxy, detailing hidden systems, secret fleets, and experimental technology caches. The map included warnings and instructions left by humans long gone. Kane realized this was the Master Archive, a guide for humanity's return. He spent hours decoding the holograms, understanding the full scale of the legacy. Humans had prepared for the possibility that the species might vanish, leaving behind tools for future survival and influence. Kane marveled at their foresight. Even in extinction, humans had ensured their knowledge, technology, and spirit could survive. The galaxy would not remain unaware for long. Aliens would notice the fleets, the energy signals, the sudden activity. Kane knew that some would fear humans, others might attempt diplomacy, and a few could plan attacks. But he also knew that humans had survived against impossible odds before. They had endured devastation, betrayal, and overwhelming enemies. Kane would continue that legacy. Days turned into weeks as Kane activated more systems and explored more hidden facilities. Automated drones patrolled nearby sectors, reporting anomalies and collecting resources. Communication networks hummed with encoded signals, linking fleets and facilities in a hidden web. Kane realized he was no longer alone. Humanity, though dormant, had awakened. Then, at the edge of the system, a small fleet appeared, alien ships cautious, scanning for disturbances. Kane assessed the situation. These ships were curious, not aggressive. Yet their presence reminded him that secrecy would not last forever. Humans had been forgotten, but the galaxy had not. He had to prepare for contact. First observation, then interaction. Kane activated a single ship from the hidden fleet, sending it on a careful mission toward the alien vessels. It moved silently, remaining undetected, and sent back valuable information. The alien ships were advanced but predictable. Kane smiled. Humans had always studied their enemies, learned their patterns, and adapted. He would do the same. The next step was critical. Kane realized that humans could no longer remain entirely hidden. The galaxy needed to remember them, but the timing had to be right. He began planning how to reveal humanity's presence gradually, controlling the narrative. demonstrating power without provoking full-scale war. Humans had always excelled at strategy and diplomacy. Kane would continue that tradition. As the sun set over the hidden planet, Kane looked at the fleets now awake and the systems he had restored. The galaxy was fragile, but humans were no longer extinct. The galaxy was awake again, though most empires did not yet realize it. Commander Elias Kane had moved carefully for months, reactivating hidden fleets, ancient technology, and secret archives. The humans were no longer extinct. They were a shadow that could shape the course of the galaxy. And now, Kane knew it was time for the next step: contact. He studied the reports from his reconnaissance drones. The Zarvok Empire remained cautious, reinforcing patrols near the systems he had activated. The Arathians observed anomalies, though they did not yet understand the source. And the Velkorians, unaware of the human presence, continued their routine patrols, confident in the absence of humanity. Kane smiled. Confidence could be dangerous. Humans had always exploited it. The first deliberate contact would need strategy, patience, and precision. Kane decided to approach the Velkorians first. They were the weakest of the major powers and the most predictable. One of the hidden human ships left the asteroid field, appearing on sensors as a small, unidentified craft. Kane transmitted a simple message. A warning, not a threat. Humans are no longer extinct, the message read. We watch, we endure, we act only to protect what remains. The Velkorians were stunned. Reports reached their command fleets. They scanned the signals, tracing them, and realized the craft was human-designed. Panic spread through their ranks. Humans had been a legend, an extinct species whose courage had once reshaped wars. Now one human or more was active. Fear replaced curiosity. Kane allowed them time to react, observing through long-range sensors. He did not attack. Humans had always fought only when necessary. He sent follow-up messages, encrypted, offering cautious terms. Recognize the human's presence, avoid aggression, and maintain peace, or face unknown consequences. The Velkorians hesitated. Kane's display of hidden strength, a fleet unseen, technology centuries ahead, and careful strategy, forced them to reconsider. They sent envoys, holographic representatives seeking dialogue. Kane welcomed it. Humans had always excelled in negotiation, persuasion, and strategy. Force alone was not the answer. Wisdom and presence were. Meanwhile, the Zarvok Empire detected increased energy activity in their claimed sectors. Their fleet scanned for anomalies and discovered a small human fleet operating near abandoned systems. Panic spread through Zarvok Command. Humans had been thought extinct. The idea that a human, or several, could control advanced fleets was unimaginable. They prepared for battle, unsure if this was a trap, a bluff, or the real thing. Kane acted with patience. He did not strike. Instead, he broadcast another message visible to all nearby empires. Humans have returned. We are here to endure, not to destroy. We will act against aggression, but we seek peace where possible. The message spread quickly. Across the galaxy, systems buzzed with alarm. Humans, long thought extinct, were active. Their technology, fleets, and strategy were no longer a memory. They were a reality. To demonstrate capability without provoking war, Kane orchestrated a series of small, controlled maneuvers. Drones and unmanned ships moved visibly, scanning sectors revealing the power of human technology without aggression. The Zarvoks tested their weapons, firing at decoys. The drones responded perfectly, evading, outmaneuvering, and countering without human lives at risk. Kane's intelligence, planning, and foresight were clear. Humans were not only alive, they were superior in strategy, innovation, and adaptation. The galaxy began to react. Some empires called for alliances against the human threat. Others hesitated, recognizing that humans were unpredictable, intelligent, and patient. Kane had learned the lessons of history. Humans survived because they were clever, adaptable, and resilient. Now he wielded that reputation as a tool, controlling perception while building influence. Kane also focused on rebuilding human presence. Hidden colonies long thought lost were contacted through encrypted messages. Some responded, survivors or descendants who had hidden in remote systems. Others had passed, but records, technology, and resources remained. Kane offered guidance, helping them re-establish networks, fleets, and communication systems. Humans were returning not as refugees, but as a prepared and intelligent force. Weeks passed. Kane coordinated with his hidden fleets, observing alien responses and adjusting strategy. Zarvok fleets remained wary, patrolling heavily but avoiding direct engagement. Velkorians cautiously observed, seeking diplomacy. Arathians tried to understand the situation, balancing curiosity with caution, and in the shadows Kane prepared the ultimate step, revealing humans as a force to be reckoned with. The time came when direct engagement was unavoidable. A Zarvok fleet, frustrated and fearful, moved aggressively toward one of the hidden human systems. Kane's fleet moved to intercept not with aggression but with clear superiority. His ships deployed in formation, energy shields glowing, weapon systems active but unprovoked. The Zarvoks froze. They had expected a few scattered human survivors, not a coordinated fleet capable of precise maneuvers and technological dominance. Kane transmitted a message to their command. You are entering human-controlled space. Leave or face consequences. We fight to survive but not to destroy without reason. The Zarvok commander hesitated, then withdrew. The demonstration was complete. Kane had proven capability without unnecessary bloodshed. Humans were back, and the galaxy had to acknowledge them. Following this, Kane began a campaign of subtle influence. He established secure communication lines with former human allies, warning them of potential conflicts and offering assistance. He revealed selective human technology to empires willing to negotiate peace, earning trust and respect. Kane's strategy was clear. The galaxy would remember humans not as a memory or myth, but as a force capable of maintaining balance, intelligence, and restraint. Yet not all reactions were peaceful. Some empires still plotted aggression, seeing humans as a threat to their power. Kane knew confrontation would be unavoidable at times, but humans had survived against overwhelming odds before. His fleet, carefully coordinated and strategically deployed, was more than enough to deter attacks and defend human interests. In the following months, Kane worked tirelessly to restore humanity's presence. Hidden colonies were connected, fleets activated, and communication networks secured. He shared knowledge, guidance, and resources, helping humans regain their place in the galaxy. Kane also made it clear to alien empires that aggression would be met with strategic retaliation, not mindless war. Humans fought not for conquest but for survival, honor, and legacy. As the galaxy adjusted to this new reality, Kane reflected on humanity's strengths. Humans had survived devastation, adapted to changing circumstances, and used intelligence and morality to guide their actions. Now, one human had awakened a legacy that reminded the galaxy that survival, ingenuity, and courage were not forgotten traits. Kane also recognized the moral weight of his actions. Humans were powerful, but with power came responsibility. The galaxy had not seen humans in centuries, and it would be tempting for some to fear or hate them. Kane resolved to use influence wisely, demonstrating strength but also fairness, diplomacy, and restraint. Humans were not conquerors, they were survivors. Over time, empires adjusted. The Velkorians established cautious diplomatic ties with Kane, realizing that human intelligence and strategy could be an asset rather than a threat. The Zarvoks, wary but respectful, acknowledged human presence in key sectors. Even the Arathians, impressed by human restraint and strategic planning, sought alliances and trade agreements. Kane had transformed fear into recognition. Humans were no longer extinct. They were a stabilizing force. The hidden fleets continued to operate quietly, prepared for defense, exploration, or intervention when necessary. Kane coordinated operations, balancing secrecy with necessary visibility. The galaxy was learning that humans were clever, resilient, and morally aware, traits that inspired respect, not just fear. Kane's work also focused on long-term survival. He established training programs for hidden colonies, teaching strategy, engineering, and leadership. Humans had survived because they prepared for the unexpected, adapted quickly, and relied on intelligence rather than brute force. Kane ensured these principles would guide the next generation. Months turned into a year. Kane watched the galaxy carefully. Wars had not erupted, but the balance of power had shifted. Humans were no longer a ghost story. Their presence was known, respected, and feared in moderation. Kane knew the legacy was secure. Humanity would not vanish again, not if he could ensure it. One evening, as Kane observed the stars from his flagship, he reflected on the journey. Alone at first, he had reawakened the hidden fleets, discovered ancient technology, and restored hope for humanity. The galaxy had thought humans extinct, but the species had endured, clever and resilient as ever. Cain had not fought wars alone. He had fought for humanity's return, guided by intelligence, foresight, and moral responsibility. The galaxy had been reimagined. The humans were back. And Elias Cain, the last human of the Galactic War, had become the spark for a new era. The fleets moved silently through space, colonies communicated securely, and alien empires began to understand that humans were not a threat to peace if approached wisely, but a force not to be underestimated. The war had been over, but the galaxy was not the same.